There are moments in history that feel like they demand celebration. Not just acknowledgement, but something louder, brighter, more alive. And right now, we're living in one of those moments. Humanity is going back to the moon. Yeah, let that sink in for a second. After decades of looking up and wondering what comes next, we're finally stepping back into that story. And honestly, if there was ever a reason to throw a party, a real, immersive, all-night kind of celebration, this would be it. So that's exactly what we're doing. We're throwing a rave. At the same time, we're gearing up to return to finish shooting a time travel film, while also working on a music video. Possibly a commercial or two. Who knows? Sky's the limit. It's one of those rare collisions of art, science, and pure human excitement where everything just feels possible. What a time to be alive. And today, we're not just talking about raves. We're diving into the history of them, the why behind them, and the surprisingly deep science that explains why these experiences hit so hard and stay with people long after the music fades. Because here's the thing. Raves might feel like chaos on the surface. Lights flashing, bass shaking your chest, people moving in every direction. But underneath all that, there's actually a structure, a pattern, even a kind of ritual. Science has started to catch up with what rave culture has known all along. These aren't just parties. They're powerful, community-driven experiences that can change how people feel, think, and connect. Researchers describe raves as modern-day rituals, spaces where music, movement, and shared energy combine to create something called a flow state. That feeling where time disappears, your thoughts quiet down, and you're fully locked into the moment. And it's not just in your head. Well, actually it is, chemically speaking. When you're in a crowd moving to the same beat, your brain starts releasing a mix of dopamine, endorphins, and oxytocin. Dopamine gives you that sense of reward and excitement. Endorphins reduce pain and boost mood. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone, creates feelings of trust, connection, even love toward the people around you. At the same time, stress hormones like cortisol drop. So what you end up with is this kind of natural high, one that's amplified by sound, rhythm, and the presence of other people all sharing the same experience. There's even a term for that collective feeling: collective effervescence. It was coined by sociologist Emil Durkheim, and it describes what happens when a group of people sync up emotionally and physically, like a crowd dancing to the same beat, and start to feel like something bigger than themselves. Individual identity fades a little, and the group takes over. For a lot of people, that feeling can be, honestly, life-changing. Then there's what researchers sometimes call the 4Ds: dancing, drums, or in this case, bass-heavy electronic music, sleep deprivation, and in some environments, drug use. Together, these elements create a kind of intensified state where people are more open, more connected, and more likely to experience emotional breakthroughs. Now, obviously, there are health conversations around some of those factors, but from a purely scientific perspective, what's fascinating is how consistent the outcome is. Stronger social bonds, increased empathy, and a deep sense of belonging. Even something as simple as moving in sync with other people, just dancing together, has been shown to increase pain tolerance and encourage generosity and cooperation. In other words, when you rave together, you connect. And that brings us to something at the core of rave culture. Plur. Peace, love, unity, and respect. It might sound simple, but it's actually the foundation of what makes a rave work. Because a great rave isn't just about the DJ or the playlist. It's about the environment, the energy, the people, the right energy, and creating that energy. That's where the art comes in. Because yes, there is absolutely an art to throwing a great rave. Behind every unforgettable night is a meticulous balance of sound, environment, community, and logistics, all working together to create something that feels effortless, even though it's anything but. It starts with sound and vibe curation. The DJs aren't just playing music, they're guiding the emotional trajectory of the night. Skilled, respectful DJs know how to read a crowd, how to build tension, release it, and keep the dance floor alive. And it's not just one sound all night. Great raves move between genres. Techno into house, house into something heavier like dubstep, creating a dynamic flow instead of a flat line. And none of that works without the sound system. Bass-heavy, high-quality audio isn't optional. It's foundational. You're not just hearing the music, you're feeling it in your chest, your bones, your entire body. Human cymatics. That physical sensation is part of what drives the whole experience, even inducing states of synesthesia. Then there's the environment. Lighting, visuals, fog, lasers, LED projections. These aren't decorations, they're world-building tools. They take a normal space and turn it into something otherworldly, something immersive. And the venue itself matters just as much. Historically, raves thrived in places that felt hidden or unconventional. Abandoned warehouses, open deserts, tucked away outdoor spaces, places that felt like you were stepping into something secret, something separate from everyday life, something esoteric. Add in UV reactive art, installations, projections, and suddenly, you're not just at an event. You're inside an experience. But even with perfect sound and visuals, none of it works without the people. A real rave is built on community. An inclusive culture where people feel like they belong, where connections matter more than status, where the energy is shared, not consumed. That's where Plur becomes real. The good organizers take that seriously. They design for it. Chill-out spaces where people can step away from the intensity, hydration stations, safety teams, a flow to the night that allows people to move, reset, and come back in. Because maintaining the right energy also means protecting it. All of this is built by a team of specialists and technicians that spend years training in the field in some extremely harsh conditions and dangerous work environments. What comes off as a clean and well-organized show is not possible without surgical precision performed by the industry's finest. Audio, lighting, and video technicians must know how to operate, construct, and maintain not only equipment that can be decades old, but must stay up to date with the latest technology hitting the market at speeds that seem almost impossible to keep up with. This isn't just art, it is complicated math and engineering. Rigging teams, both in the air and on the ground, are responsible for ensuring structures and hanging truss are safely secured above the heads of the ravers and crew. This means understanding building limits, structural integrity, and all safety regulations involved in building temporary structures that will be under incredible tension and weight loads while being expected to hold their stability with moving light fixtures and vibrating speakers. Construction teams, including carpenters, painters, and scenic designers, work closely with the AVL crews to create incredible structures that seamlessly blend together to create a massive installment that looks as if it has been there for years, only to be torn down and loaded out in a matter of a few short hours. Behind the scenes, there's a whole other layer most people never see: detailed scheduling. Set times, sound checks, even surprise moments that keep the night evolving. Flow artists, plovers, hoopers, pixel-whip performers, adding a live human visual element that interacts with the crowd in real time. And above all, safety. Because the best raves feel free, but they're never careless. They're designed. And when all those pieces come together, the sound, the visuals, the people, the intention, that's when the secret sauce happens. That's when a rave stops being an event and becomes something people carry with them long after it ends. But to really understand why all of this exists, we have to go back. Because rave culture didn't just appear out of nowhere. The experience itself is tribal at its core. As long as human beings have existed, we have been driven by a natural force to stomp our feet into the ground in unison till the very beat can be felt for miles, like a stampede tearing across the primitive plains. Research has shown that tribal and indigenous music provides profound mental and physical health benefits by altering brainwave activity. Deep, low vibrations and chanting stimulate the vagus nerve and activate the body's parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest program for our bodies. Our ancestors had a clear understanding of the value and importance of using beats and vibrations to alter our brainwaves and therefore reality itself. But the bigger the bass, the bigger the beat. What better way to get the most powerful vibration possible than getting the whole tribe involved? These events weren't seen as a mass celebration. They were healing ceremonies. By creating a synchronized beat, the tribe was able to take advantage of all the healing benefits of working together as a group for the good of everyone. And it was a tradition passed down to the generations of today. The tools may have evolved a little, but the science and value of how and why hasn't aged a day. The word rave itself actually goes back decades. 1950s and 1960s London, where it was used to describe wild, high-energy parties. Back then, ravers were just people chasing that same feeling we're still chasing today. But the modern rave scene, the one we recognize now, really took shape in the late 1980s, what's often called the second summer of love. In the UK, underground parties started forming around new electronic sounds coming out of Chicago and Detroit. House music, acid house, techno. These weren't polished commercial events. They were raw, often illegal, all-night gatherings in warehouses and hidden locations. No rules, just music, movement, and community. From there, it exploded. By the 1990s, rave culture had spread across the globe into cities like Los Angeles, San Francisco, and New York, evolving from underground scenes into massive, organized events. What started as something secret became something unstoppable. And now, here we are in 2026. From illegal warehouse parties to massive, high-production festivals with cutting-edge sound and visuals. From underground rebellion to global phenomenon. But even with all that growth, all that change, the core hasn't really changed at all. We come together, we move together, we create the right energy together. And for a little while, we step into something bigger than ourselves. Welcome to the Rift.